Welcome to Mind Shield. We protect the mind and pursue the truth. Let's get started.
You know, when you're trying to understand a weapon that's designed to be, well, invisible, where do you even start? Our investigation doesn't begin with the technology. It begins with a person. It begins with a life, the life of Marcus Rivera.
So, to really get a grip on how a world can be completely twisted and warped, we first have to know what normal looked like. We have to build a baseline, right? We need to see this ordinary life before any of it started to change.
Okay, so this is Marcus. Now, I need to be really clear about this from the jump. Marcus is a composite character. He's not a real person. Think of him more like a narrative vehicle we've built from dozens and dozens of reported patterns. We're using him to explore an incredibly complex subject, covert neurosensory intrusion, which is, a mouthful. It basically refers to the alleged use of tech to manipulate someone's senses, their perceptions, creating a reality that only they can experience.
His life is, well, it's defined by the rhythm of the everyday. That commute to the LA traffic, we've all been there. The constant buzz of messages from his job as a project manager. The call to his mom on his way home from the gym. It's all very predictable. And that's the point. It's real. This is what he has. Privacy, friends, a predictable life. Things we all just kind of assume will always be there. This is his world. The one that makes sense, right before the bars of an invisible cage start to close in around him.
So, let's look at how that world begins to warp. The intrusions, they're subtle at first, and they're designed that way. They're meant to be deniable, to make a person start questioning their own mind.
This is such a classic setup. It's a tactic we see reported time and time again, and it's designed to do one thing and one thing only: sow self-doubt, to make you stop and ask, wait, am I imagining this? The whole goal, according to the threat models, is just pure psychological disruption. This term you see here, gaslighting on steroids, that's pulled directly from victim reports. It's this conditioning technique that creates this just profound sense of isolation. I mean, think about it. When you try to explain it to someone you trust, it sounds impossible. It makes them think you're imagining things.
So that brings us to the big question. Why are we telling a story? Why are we following this guy Marcus? Well, it's because while all the facts and the patents and the declassified documents, they can inform us, for sure. But a story helps us feel the human cost.
So yeah, who is Marcus Rivera really? Understanding what this character represents, it's an absolutely crucial part of this whole investigation.
We're using his story to give a face and a timeline and a body to this whole reported experience. This lets us explore the fear and the confusion, the isolation, all of it, without having to expose a real victim's private life to all that public scrutiny.
Every part of this series is going to follow this exact structure. Super disciplined. We'll start with Marcus's experience, then we'll dive into the psychology of the alleged perpetrators, look at the historical and tech context, and then, critically, we'll hit a hard evidence checkpoint. The goal here is disciplined empathy, not panic.
Okay, so let's look at how this all starts to build, which brings us to maybe the most critical first step you can take in any investigation like this. Remember his life at the beginning? The job, the family, that whole routine? That's not just backstory to make it interesting. No, that is evidence. An investigator, and you, if you're trying to understand this, you must know who someone was before any of this reported targeting began. Their normal life is like the control group in the experiment. This is where the real work begins. An investigator has to piece together a complete picture of this person's life. Why? Because when someone's reality is being deliberately messed with, being destabilized, preserving the truth of who they were before it all started is the very first act of justice.
And this brings us to the most practical takeaway from this whole introduction. This is something anyone could apply to their own life.
This is a direct quote from a legal analysis on these kinds of phenomena, and man, it is powerful. So the question becomes, how do you protect that baseline reality we were just talking about? How do you preserve your own story?
Well, you create what we call a baseline file. Just think of it like a personal dossier. It's a curated archive of your normal life. It's your own private ground truth, It preserves your story before any potential fault.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the core principle of our entire investigation. To understand the damage, to analyze the attack, you absolutely have to first, rigorously and honestly, establish what was whole.
Join us next time as we follow Marcus deeper into the cage.